So at the time of recording this video, we are looking at the premiere, or it should be the premiere day of the new Scream 6. And with that coming out, instead of going over the regular movies, getting you guys prepared for this, I want to go over what I think is a very underrated part of the Scream franchise, and that's Scream the TV series. I feel like even with all its pros and cons of the TV series, it brings back key essentials we loved about the original movie to the forefront, such as the constant pop culture references, such as the play on the tropes of original slashers, movies, and TV shows. So we're just gonna dive in everything that is Scream, the TV series. And I can be honest and even admit some parts of the TV series do feel a bit cliche, especially because Scream as a franchise started to be satire for horrors and slashers. But even with that, I do think there's a lot of things to love about the series. So what I want to do first is jump into everything I like about the show and appreciate about it that makes it underrated in my eyes. Then I want to look at some of my favorite pop culture references throughout the series that was just funny to me or brought something to my attention. And last, I want to talk about some of the best kills and how they are compared to the actual movies, how good were the kills in general. So that would be the three sections, and I'll also be putting clips in this to get my point across so you can see my point of view of how I'm watching the show. But let's get into it. Now, this TV series, I think it's my personal opinion, it's better than even some of the movies in the franchise. Just maybe two or three of them, in my opinion, at least. I feel like the TV series as a whole, I would favor instead of some of those movies. And let me get into the reasons why, and maybe you'll see it that way. First things first, the TV series gives us time to attach to some of the characters into the story, and Noah describes this perfectly, and I'll put the clip in here of what he said. He just described it perfectly.
So it's more of a why done it?
No. I'm saying you need to forget it's a horror story, that someone might die at every turn. You see, you have to care if the smoking hot lit teacher seems a little too interested in his female students. You have to care if the smart, pretty girl forgives the dumb jock.
Sounds like Friday Night Lights.
Exactly. You root for them. You love them. So when they are brutally murdered, it hurts.
So with that quote, of course, in the movies we root for Sid, Dewey, Gale, because we grown with these characters and got to see them over a course of 4 movies. But all the other characters, we just really want to see a cool kill. With the TV series, I feel more for each character's demise, not only because it feels more meticulously planned, but also because we got to see these characters' relationships and dynamics consistently over the course of episodes, seasons, or just in general. So I felt terrible when like things happened, like Emma had to choose between Riley or Brooke, and Riley died because of it. Also, both seasons feel like natural continuation, so we feel each and every kill and all the characters' feelings even more, in my opinion. Think about it like this: each of the movies are between 1 to 2 hours, so we don't have enough screen time to get to every single character. So the movies sometimes focus on the kills to an extent, and they each take a place over the course of multiple different movies over even over decades. The all 5 movies, the original started in 96, we're in 2023, so the movies take place over the course of decades, and the only characters we ever find ourselves able to attach to currently were Dewey, Gale, and of course Sid. The TV series, on the other hand, the first 2 seasons feel literally as one linear connected storyline, as it should. Also, because it's a show, there's more chances to take times at being more particular in its planning, such as the Tyler storyline very early on, with using his disappearance and body and framing him and faking his death to basically slow back down the pace of the story so we could get back to the characters, back to their dynamic, and it just helps with the story overall. This helps especially with characters like Brooke and Jake and even Will, who early in the story just aren't good people, and if they were to be killed off very early on, like some jackasses do in the movies, it wouldn't have meant as much when they die. Such as example when Nina died in the first episode, we didn't really develop with her character, but we could easily see she wasn't a good person. But with Riley, we liked her from the start, especially her relationship with Noah. So her dying early had a big impact, especially with the decision of making Emma choose who to live. So them being able to take their time more with the story with Brooke and Jake down the line and other characters elevated them to the point where if they were killed, their death would matter more and be way more impactful than if they happened early on. While in a movie, it just isn't enough time to make every kill meaningful. It's almost like Gail in the earlier movies, specifically the first, where she was a dick. She was like prying into Sydney's personal life and just didn't respect boundaries. And if she died very early on in the movie, I wouldn't say it wouldn't have mattered to us, but it wouldn't have meant as much as over the course of multiple movies, she easily became a fan favorite and is now in Scream 6 being the only character across all 6 movies, I believe. She's easily a fan favorite. So if she was to get killed in Scream 6, that would have such a big impact to the viewers. So I think it being a TV show or a TV series works better with something like the Scream franchise, to me at least. And that's not to even say it's better than all the movies. Definitely not. Maybe a few, but I do believe that any other slasher franchise and or killer couldn't function as easily as a TV series like Scream does, with the exception of Chucky maybe, who now has a show that I love. Basically, the show reiterates everyone is a suspect. Trust no one, even though I do believe in hindsight the killers could have easily been predicted. I like how the story continues to reinforce that in our heads.
Everybody's a suspect!
It's a long ass list.
So, pretty much everybody's a suspect.
Will was kidnapped and Jake was stabbed. Probably safe to take them both off the killer board.
Unless that was exactly what it was meant to do. Jake's on the mend. Will's Wounded Warrior Act made Emma forgive his sins. Either one of them could have set up this entire fiasco just to convince us to trust them.
I also believe that with the TV series, we get to see and understand information about motives we wouldn't otherwise see or get in the movies, because once again, there just isn't enough time to do that. For example, take all the Ghostface killers you have seen for and what their motives were, such as Billy and Stu. Billy wanted revenge for feeling like Sydney's family broke up his, which for its time was cool and unique, and he was a menacing Ghostface. We don't get to see that throughout the story. We don't really get to see his motive throughout the whole movie. We just get the reveal at the end. Same with Roman in Scream 3, with one of the most botched reveals that just doesn't add up or make sense because we aren't able to see or receive as much information as we would otherwise in a TV show setting. There just isn't enough time, so it gets botched or it just doesn't start to add up. Now, whether you think the movies were better in the series or the movies respectively, it doesn't matter, because my point is to show it. The show is able to tell the full story beginning, middle, and end, and show context and continuity that because of movie runtimes we wouldn't otherwise get. To put this another way, my favorite killer and motive from the franchise is Jill. Her motive, of course, wanting to be the final girl and live the life with the fame that comes with it. And we saw throughout the movie the lengths she was willing to go through to achieve that, even trying to kill Sid at the very last minute. But now imagine a world where we start at a new beginning and reverse it and get all the information. So hear me out. This might not be a popular idea, but think of it this way. Jill's plan worked. Sid is dead and she's living a new life as the final girl, but now there's a new Ghostface killer who knows what happened. They know she plotted and planned everything, and now she has to escape and actually be the final girl. And meanwhile, we are developing and getting all the information that led up to the reason this Ghostface is even after her. I feel like her succeeding in reverse engineering the story could have made for better impact and better storytelling for the future, no matter how much her motive was still my favorite. I feel like we can get that with the show. We get that with the show. There are mishaps, obviously, especially with the not getting the pivotal third season, but For the most part, we get our answers and nothing is left uncertain or unchecked. I feel like viewers like it when things are airtight, that make sense, and they get the most information they possibly can. Because too little information might not be enough. Sometimes it's good with certain killers. Like I said, with Billy and Stu, it was very good. That was like literally that movie rechanged the whole slasher, revitalized the whole slasher franchise. But sometimes I wish we got more with the killer, more information, more dialogue, more backstory, just more in general, and I feel like the show provides that. So that's another reason I feel is very underrated when the Scream franchise is talked about. I also think that we're finally going to dive into the storyline, why everything happened, and the gist of it all. I also think when you look at that, it's pretty much solid, especially because, like I said, you get all the access information from the past. So the story pretty much goes Piper Shaw, the long lost half sibling of Emma Duval, and she's Brandon James' daughter. So 20 years ago, when these murders happened, Emma's mom had an affair on her dad. I guess it would be an affair on high school, but she slept with Brandon James and got pregnant. But once Brandon James went on his killing spree, killed those kids in one night, she left to have the baby, put it up for adoption, never learned the gender, boy or girl, and just moved back to town and then got back with Emma's dad. So Piper, spending majority of her childhood in a children's home, she comes to learn who her parents were and grew to hate her mother for abandoning her and causing her father's death, and also grew very resentful of her half-sister Emma. So her believing Emma got the perfect life grew to decide to do a reboot killing spree, as they call it, targeting Emma's friends in order to make her life a living hell and give her and her mother what she felt they deserved. Now, once again, I'll say this again. I do think that in hindsight, the story was very predictable, especially going by episode. Once you learn access information, like her mom was with Brandon James, how the recording of her dad saying they slept together came out, how it all started adding up, especially with Piper early in the series telling Emma that her dad died when she was very young. So it started to add up pretty clearly, but I do think as a base storyline as a whole, it was still pretty good. And I would say the storyline as a whole was better in season 1 than season 2, I would say. Now, at the hand of Piper's defeat, she of course had an accomplice for season 2. That accomplice being Kieran, Emma's boyfriend and the sheriff's son. Now, his motive was more of similar to hers. It was out of revenge for his father leaving him and giving him up. Especially once Kieran's father and Emma's mother started dating, Piper and him were more furious than ever because now both of the parents they gave them to up were seamlessly happy. Also, with the death of Piper, who he of course loved, he retrieved her body from the lake when no one noticed. He wasn't revealed as her accomplice in season 1, so he continued out her whole plan to torment Emma, continuously kill her friends, emotionally fuck over Brooke, Noah, and just everyone, and then just mess with Audrey about the information he knew about Audrey bringing Piper to Lakewood. And once again, like I said, it's pretty solid. Of course, there's just pros and cons on both sides. But like I said, I like how we get the context of the characters and we get to actually see it. And it more so makes sense. Whereas in the movies, we don't have enough time for all that. We can't really see the backstory, what led to all this. We just get our answer in the end, and it isn't always fulfilling, especially Scream 3. For once again, I'll keep bringing up one of the most botched revealings ever. So like I said, the story is pretty solid overall, but now let's jump and dive deep into the characters. We're going to do the Lakewood 6. Well, we're going to do 4 of the Lakewood 6. And you'll see, obviously, for reasons why. And then we'll do the 2 killers in their own section. But let's get right into it. So, up first we have Emma Duval. This is our show's final girl. Emma, throughout the series, continues to struggle with trust and being repeatedly lied to. These murders and the connection dealing with her family causes this sweet, innocent girl to spiral into a pit of delusion, paranoia, and discomfort. Trust is the biggest key for Emma as a character. She has seemingly been lied to her entire life by her mother, not revealing all her secrets about Brandon James, by her father's absence, and even by her friends who manipulated her and hid how they even all came to meet one another. As Emma loses trust, she loses control, and she is at the center of all this because of her family and her friends suffer from it. Because of Piper, because of her mom, because of Brandon James, just it all goes hand in hand. I think as a final girl, Emma is pretty good overall. I think the main focus of Emma's character, like I said, is trust, and that's shown greatly throughout the both of the first two seasons. When she is at odds with pretty much every character she ever surrounded herself with at one point. So, like I said, she's a pretty good final girl overall, and I also just happen to like her because she reminds me of Bridget Miller, so that's a bonus plus for me. Next, we have Noah Foster, who is probably my favorite character in the entire series, maybe franchise. His character compares well to Randy in the original movies, being an expert and connoisseur of horror. Now, I would say Noah for sure brings that annoying cliche of the constant references from a character time and time again that makes most characters one note, such as a Jughead from Riverdale or Tabby from the new Pretty Little Liars spinoff, but Noah doesn't come off as this at all for multiple reasons. First being, he is set as the comic relief character for the series, as well as great at breaking the ice and tension, and that is just overall intriguing as a character.
This is the final showdown. The killer's gonna try and take out every single one of your friends, one by one, until you're the only one that's left. Because you're the survivor girl, which makes me the know-it-all sidekick. Oh crap, I'm gonna die. Or am I 3 days from retiring? I will not be right back.
Also, we get to see Noah with different feelings and emotions throughout the whole series that varies constantly and helps his character not be one-dimensional, such as him being excited about his podcast, The Morgue, and new discoveries about Piper and her accomplice who she could have been working with. Or we see him in pain at the loss of not one but two different girlfriends over the course of 2 seasons. His actions and feelings and emotions are never the exact same, like some stereotypical characters that fit the trope they gave him, but he makes it work and is very good character in my regard. I feel like most characters given a stereotypical trope like the one he was given with being the expert connoisseur of horror and giving all these references, etc., etc. He made the character exciting and added elements to it to still feel like an important part of the cast, not just one of the Lakewood Six. He felt like a big piece of it. Now, Brooke. Brooke initially isn't too good of a person. She is oftentimes even selfish and puts herself before even her friends. She craves physical and emotional connection constantly. But after her friend Riley's death early on in season 1, who she wasn't there for, and seeing a poll the next day or the next episode of who should die next and everyone choosing to vote for her, she wants to be and do better. She starts to be there emotionally for her friends, especially for Emma, no matter what. She faces losses and betrayal constantly throughout the series as well, with her father, with Jake, with Branson, and more. Her role in the storyline, at least as far as it goes to the Lakewood Six and the murderers, probably isn't as significant as Emma, Noah, and Audrey, of course, but she plays her role well and develops into a nice character that we actually like and root for. And next we have Audrey, longtime friend of Emma, but along the way fell into a pit of vulnerability and right into the lap of Piper Shaw. Piper was able to force Audrey to act as her accomplice and blackmailing her into keeping her secret. Ultimately, Audrey was able to fight back against Piper and assisted Emma in putting her down once and for all. But Audrey kept her involvement with Piper a secret. From the very beginning, Audrey missed her friendship with Emma as they wasn't on good terms once the season started, and it was out of revenge that she got in touch with Piper in the first place. But Over the course of the killings and losing more and more people, her and Emma grew close once again, especially after she helped her stop Piper, and she felt she had no choice but to keep her connection with Piper a secret, which unfortunately, due to Piper having an accomplice, leaves her vulnerable once more to the new killer and even more paranoid than ever. She has Noah, she has rekindled her friendship with Emma, and that's all she ever wanted. But now, once again, she is at risk of losing it all. Not just because of her dealings with Piper and the new killer, but also at the risk of losing her life. And that's the Lakewood 6. Of course, I could go into Jake and Kieran, of course, but we're about to jump into the killer. So we'll do Kieran and Piper in that section. And I feel Jake, he's a part of the Lakewood 6, but his character overall isn't that interesting and isn't really much to say about it. It mainly revolves around his relationship with Brooke in general. And I talked about how Brooke has losses and Jake was one of her losses. So his death had the biggest impact on his character as a story in general because of the impact it had on Brooke as a character throughout the whole season 2. But now, let's jump into the killers, their motives, the way they thought, and them as characters, Piper and Kieran. Now, the killers. I kind of already went over their motives when I talked about the storyline at the end of the first section of this video, but let me reiterate. Piper, both of them are basically doing it on revenge. So Piper's connection is closer to Emma and her family, as Randy James was her father. They brutally murdered him, and then Maggie, Emma's mother, gave her away for adoption. So out of revenge, she felt Emma got the perfect life that she didn't get to have. She grew up in foster care her whole childhood and felt like Emma got the perfect life. So she wanted to recreate these kills her father did. She wanted to show Emma pain, take out her friends, ruin her life the way she felt her life was ruined. And her and Kieran's connection comes into play because they both felt the same about their parents. Their parents abandoning them, with Piper's being Maggie and Kieran's being his father. And then once them two started dating and got in a relationship, they were even more furious. Kieran even stated the final plan was kill his father, kill the mother, and kill Emma, and reveal to her that the whole time her boyfriend was with her half-sister and they were doing all this for revenge. But unfortunately, Piper got killed and Kieran chose to continue her plan, act out her plan, and brought Audrey into play to torment her for killing Piper as well. So he spent the whole second season setting up Audrey and framing her and Emma for all the new murders to get revenge for Piper because they were in love and because they both had the same connection for revenge against their parents. So once again, overall, like I said, it's a pretty solid motive. It could be better, could have been way worse, obviously. And I pretty much enjoyed the two killers. I enjoyed how they told the story across the seasons. So now with the story out of the way, the characters, the killers, the motives, everything out the way, I want to jump into some pop culture references, my favorite references, and just why I like it all so much, because they make it feel like this is real and they're living in the same world and experiencing the same things, as far as pop culture at least, with the references at the time, especially mentioning things like Game of Thrones, Pretty Little Liars, etc. And then Scream, the original franchise, being the first to name drop this, to do this, to play on the satire of slashers and tropes and all this, the casual name drops they had in the original movies. It just felt like it felt like how it used to feel, for me at least. And as well as most slashers do in this day and age, it paid homage to many slashers from all across time, especially in season 2. We'll start there. Every episode in season 2 is named after a horror slasher film from the past. So the movies that were named after each of the following episodes, we have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Psycho, Vacancy, Happy Birthday to Me, Dawn of the Dead. They had Jeepers Creepers. They had Let the Right One In, Village of the Damned, The Orphanage, The Vanishing, Heavenly Creatures, When a Stranger Calls, and Halloween/Halloween 2. Literally every episode of the second season pays homage by naming it to traditional famous slashers. But for the rest of the pop culture section, I'll throw in clips of times they threw out TV shows, movies, or just paid homage to older things or something we would have known in real life. And it's just hilarious, either hilarious, ironic, or encouraging to see them say it in the show. I'll just throw in a bunch of clips for the rest of this section.
Now, this looks staged. I mean, you see layers on TV, not in real life. Take Pretty Little Liars. They're always chock full of bloody clues and creepy, unrealistic icons. I mean, seriously, how would A get her hands on 4 Victorian dolls that look just like the main characters? Survived twice.
Yeah, being a hero.
Can someone please call a doctor so I survive?
Cell phones are still out.
There's a landline in the kitchen.
A landline? What is this, 1996?
How about what this town has been through? Is that giving any of us nightmares? Scary, but necessary. We are churning through what holds us back.
Just like A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Seriously, Noah? A movie about a knife-fingered psycho slashing kids in their dreams? It's necessary?
She was lying at the bottom of the stairs, broken. It looked bad. I have no idea if she'll live.
Do you think she was pushed? Because I could easily run down a list of movies where someone is pushed down the stairs during an attack. The Exorcist, Dolores Claiborne, Psycho, The Shining.
Dude,
It's that time again. Time for Lakewood's annual carnival. What could be more twisted? Look, there's no denying Lakewood is opening the beaches with a man-eating shark in the waters, but it's what the people want.
Now, there's plenty more lines and references I could have chose, but obviously you guys get the point. Now, I want to jump into the last part of this video, then wrap it up. Let's jump into what I think are some of my favorite kills from the series. And I'll probably be doing my top 3 kills right here, then we'll wrap the video up. Also, if you feel there's any references I left out some Game of Thrones ones. I left out some Everyone's a Suspect, the What Are You Waiting For from the Scream movies. But if you have any other references that's your favorite, feel free to throw them down in the comments. But let's jump into the kills. Now, I would easily have to say my favorite kill from the series is low-key a tie, but I would hedge it out to Will in the first season being killed by his own form machine. And this is really because this kill is foreshadowed earlier in a different episode of him on that machine, and also because his death was caused by Emma rushing to try to save him. It also was during a moment where they thought they finally got a win on the killer. They went to the bowling alley. Everybody survived. Jake was stabbed but survived. Will was kidnapped but they saved him. And nothing happened to Emma, Noah. Everybody basically got out safe though. So they thought they got away with a win. And we got this kill at the final moments of this episode. And it was easily the most brutal kill in the series. Of course, off camera because it's on TV. But you could just only imagine. My second favorite kill from the series, and mainly because how saddened I was by it, has to be Zoe in season 2. Now, in season 2, Zoe and Noah are dating. They both are kidnapped and buried alive. Noah being buried underground and Zoe being buried in water to where she's about to drown. So Audrey and Emma have to rush to save Noah, and then they have to rush to save Zoe after. So they get to Noah right before he runs out of air, and the killer left them a video showing that Noah was still alive, and they did the same for Zoe. So when they make it to save Zoe, the video is still showing that she's still alive, she's still good, they could save her. But he pre-recorded the video, and by the time they reached her, she was already dead. This was just such a fucked up thing to do to Noah in general. Like I say, he's my favorite character, and it was kind of like the Will situation. I thought they was gonna get away with another win where everybody get out safe, which is what I wanted this time, seeing as Noah's my favorite character and I liked him with Zoe. But no, the killer completely played them, and Zoe unfortunately was already dead by the time they arrived. And my third favorite would have to be Jake. Jake was stepped in a bear trap, then he was tortured, and then he was just quickly slashed and killed off with a scythe, just viciously. And then his body was dropped during the pageant. His body drops in the air right on top of Brooke during the pageant. So all of those things together makes this my third favorite kill, from the bear trap to the site to the pageant, his body being dropped. All that combined just made this an epic kill, an epic reveal to everyone that he's dead. Just everything put together made this my third favorite kill of the series. On that note, that's it for this video, guys. I talked about the story, the underrated elements, what I like, the Lakewood 6, the characters, the motives, the pop culture references, the kills, just everything that had to come with the Scream TV series, and I really do think it's underrated. But today is the premiere of Scream 6. I hope you guys enjoy. I might make a review on it. Leave your thoughts on the Scream, the TV series, down below in the comments, and also your thoughts on Scream 6. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see on Top Notch to watch. I'm out.